excited about the episode we have in store for you today. I'm sitting down with my good friend, Ron Cool, and his wife, Rachel Cool, who are both super, super cool. Ron is the CEO of Hindsight Hacking Media and the co-host of Hindsight Hacking Media podcast. Is that right? Awesome. And he is an incredible podcast editor and podcast coach and podcast host. So if you are looking to have podcasting as part of your business or your platform, you need to know about Hindsight Hacking Media. But I'm super excited to have a more personal conversation with Ron and Rachel about leaving their six-figure 9-to-5 and starting their own business. So welcome, Ron and Rachel. How are you guys doing?
Good. Very good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited. Why don't we start by having you guys tell us just a little bit about yourselves and your family?
Sure. Okay. So, started what, 11 years ago, 12 years ago.
You better know your anniversary date.
This is a funny story. So, I used to work at Starbucks, and she wanted to work at Starbucks, and I remember my boss called and said, "Hey, we have this girl who wants to be a manager. We're going to send her to you." Okay. So in walks Rachel, and I go, "Okay, well, here you go. You start tomorrow. We'll see you later." Right? I didn't realize she didn't have an interview. Right? So
I thought I was going for an interview.
She thought she was going for an interview, and I thought she already had an interview. So that's how she started, right? But after she left, I called a friend of mine, which I have proven to her. And I said, "The most beautiful woman on the planet works for me." And so that whole love at first sight thing, but I was chicken. I wasn't going to do anything, right? And she kind of worked, 5 years? We were working. No, gosh, this was 16 years ago, probably right now, wasn't it? We've been married.
It's definitely been a long time. We worked together for a good couple of years before we started dating.
Yeah, and she was leaving my store, and she wanted a picture, which actually we have hanging on the wall. Mm-hmm. It's a picture of us because I didn't know, but she thought it was cute, so she wanted a picture. And she was going to leave out of our district, and I wasn't going to see her anymore. And the last day,
you're like, I better do something.
Yeah, it kind of hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why do I feel that way? And so she was walking behind me, and I just turned around, grabbed her, and kissed her.
You hired her with no interview, and then you just kissed her with no warning. Okay.
Well, I said we're either going to get married or
he's getting fired.
I'm getting fired. one of the two, right? And she goes, "Well, you're not getting fired." I was like, "Awesome."
And then fast forward till now.
Fast forward, we have 3 kiddos. We've been to three different states.
We've been married for going on 10 years now.
Going on 10 years.
Even though we've been together longer than that, but married 10 years. And then, of course, you just started your entrepreneurial journey not too terribly long ago. And I started my stay-at-home mom journey, which was new for me as well. So we're still doing new things and having firsts with one another.
Yeah.
Well, here's to a lifetime of firsts. I love it. And may they all be as exciting as just getting kissed in the Starbucks.
I love that story. That's one of my favorite stories.
We have good stories for sure.
But she could have also hit me across the face. But I knew her well enough. I'm going to tell this story, and I don't share this very often, but I knew her well enough.
I don't know if I've heard this story.
Yeah, it's how I grabbed you. So I grabbed her like this, right? Because if we were joking around and she didn't like something, she always turned that way. So I knew I was at least going to get one kiss before, because I had my hand on that side, so she couldn't turn away.
Okay, you did tell me that story.
You were either going to get married or you were going to get a sexual harassment charge.
One of the two, go for broke. That's right.
Hey, I love it. Here we go. That sets the
stage.
Out,
yes, it did.
Okay, So I'm excited about this interview because we have Ron, who is an entrepreneur, and you work out of your home in your basement, right? And you've got Rachel, who is proud to call herself a stay-at-home mom, which I absolutely love, with young kids. And so I want to talk about your journey to where you are now, how you support each other in your roles, and what you've learned along the way. So let's start before, Ron, you started Hindsight Hacking. Tell me, Hindsight Hacking Media, tell me what your marriage, your kind of family life looked like when you were in your 9 to 5, 6-figure job.
Sure. Gosh, it was all day. Like I'm a workaholic, right? And we live really far out from where the job was. Like it was an hour and a half one way to work, right? And so if let's just say hypothetically I had to be at work at 9, you have to leave the house super early, almost 7 a.m. And then if I work till 5 or 6, I'm not getting home till after dinner, right? And my least favorite part of the year is when it was dark, because I would leave when it's dark and I'd come home when it was dark. And we were, at that time we had 2 little ones, and then the 3rd little one was coming, and then we started questioning, like, gosh, do we have the money? Do we have the time? Like, what are we doing? And it was so frustrating for me because, and I like driving, but I would drive down this road where you can't, it's just flat. And that was just more frustrating for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to move. Like, we have to move closer. I'm not getting home. I was so unhappy. I was angry because I felt this calling to like help people and help them do what they want to do. And I love doing graphics and stuff. And I kept telling Rach, I was like, hey, I feel I have to do this. So, we prayed about it. And we started going to church. I mean, we go to church all the time, but the story I want to talk about, like, what, a month we started going, and like every sermon was like a phone call from God. Here you go. Like every sermon. And I kept telling her, I was like, oh my gosh, we just talked about that. Like that just, like everything's lining up so well. And there's a story that I would share about her aunt wanting a llama farm. And I've said this to you for like 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it's about, she wants a llama farm. She feels her calling is a llama farm to help battered women and single women get out of bad relationships, have a safe place to go. And that's her calling that she feels God is calling her to do, which is awesome. And so I've always said, well, what are you doing to make that happen? And she goes, I'm just waiting patiently. And I'm like, God isn't going to open up the clouds and drop a llama farm on you. Like, that's not how that works, right? Like, you got to take action. You got to take steps. And so she's heard me tell this story. And she also knew, because from our conversations, I was working 40 hours plus at a job, 40 hours plus, as you know, in entrepreneurial world. And I told her, I go, look, something's going to break.
I think I might have told you that first, actually, because I felt the breaking, and I was concerned for you, like burning the candle at both ends, and he was so frustrated in the 9-to-5 job that it was really affecting the family, and I had frustration too. I had been working, we were both working, and we had the little kids. And like he said, when the 3rd one came along, then realization was like, oh, wow, like Rachel can't go back to work with 3 little kids living as far away. Like, unless I'm going to start making a boatload more money than I actually make right now, like I'm going to be at home and he's going to be, the breadwinner here. And he was just so unhappy and just grumpy, and he was missing out on the kids because he wouldn't get home till so late. And he was, when he was present, he was, angry and frustrated, and it just wasn't him. That's never been him. And so when he was doing the, the side gig, and then also the 9-to-5, which of course, as I said, was really more like, 7 to 8 or more sometimes, I was like, hey, something's got to give here. You cannot keep doing this. You are literally going to have a health problem, probably mentally and physically,
Yeah. And so, she goes, and I remember this day, she goes, okay, let's just pray about it. And this was like a Wednesday or Thursday. Let's just, keep praying about it. And we'll just ask God to open up, whatever it is. So we go to church on that Sunday, and the message, and I kid you not, was about your God-given gifts and seizing the moment and taking action. And and I just looked at her, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, seriously? It's like been like 6 sermons in a row, right? And so that Monday, I turned in my notice.
Mm-hmm.
And that was last year, which was exciting. So that was October. No, it was in September. October was my first retirement day, if you call it that.
That's amazing. So now tell us what life looks like now. Like, what's the difference between that frustrated 9 to 5 side gig, like totally stretched too thin, to now?
I don't wear pants.
I don't think you're supposed to say that.
No, I'm kidding. No, but literally, we come downstairs. We have a little morning routine to get the kids out to school. Sometimes we'll have breakfast together, or sit and have coffee. Every once in a while, I'm able to come up, and we had a picnic on the floor with the kids the other day, which was kind of fun. Never been able to do that before. We had lunch the other day, which was cool. I get to harass her all the time at work, which is great.
I threatened to call HR.
Right? I can imagine what that looks like now.
Yeah, and I had a funeral that I had to attend, which was it was interesting because I didn't have to ask anyone's permission to like leave the state to go. I did some work while I was there. Like the stress level, it's just different. I'm not going to say there's no stress level because there's deadlines and stuff. It's just different, right?
Well, it's because he loves what he's doing, and he can focus on it, because before, trying to split his attention between a job that he hated, but that was what paid the bills and took care of our family of 5, which is kind of a big thing. I feel like if it was just the 2 of us, it wouldn't have been such a big deal, because you can make sacrifices and whatever, but when you've got like little kids to care for, all of a sudden you can't make as many sacrifices as you would if it was just us. So being able to focus now, I think, is a huge thing for him too.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. And again, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without her support. And that was the only thing I ever asked for. Like, just, I need the support and understanding that it's not always going to be awesome. Like, there might be ups and downs. And as long as, she knows, even if there's a down, I'm not going to like let us live out of a box unless it's a really cool box. But I'm not going to let the family suffer. I'm going to try to work through it, but she knows that I'm going to do whatever I can.
Yeah. So that being said, Rachel, what were some of the biggest hurdles and adjustments that you felt like needed to be made for, this new kind of experience?
There were definitely a lot of adjustments. For one, just giving him a space. It's not like we live in a tiny house or anything, but with our youngest little one coming, which was not planned, we had to make adjustments there to get him his own room, and we had to move some stuff around, and our oldest daughter's room ended up in the basement. And so we don't have like a spot for him to have an office. So with him, starting this journey, we were like, oh my gosh, he needs a place to actually work. And so what was the basement playroom had to be converted into, and also the basement was like the workout area as well, had to be converted into now an office space. So it's like our basement is like office space, a workout room, kids playroom. So that was a big one.
And our daughter's room.
Yeah, and Phoenix's room, our oldest daughter, who's 7 years old, is down here. So it's like if he has a late night and he needs to be down here making noise, working or recording or doing whatever, that's pretty tough with her bedroom door like literally right next to where he is. So yeah, those adjustments have been a little difficult. And like, with COVID and everything and kids learning from home, oh my gosh, trying to keep the children under wraps, or at least quiet enough that he could get something done. You know, if he needs to record or something, it's like, oh my gosh, trying to keep all three of them quiet, a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, it's like almost impossible. So just trying to get creative ways to, you know, figure out how to make that work, you know. And then also understanding, like he said, it's not always, you know, it's not always cupcakes and rainbows. I mean, it's like those days where there are days where there is no coffee together in the morning and breakfast, and there is no dinner together at night. Like, he gets to work right at the start of the day and works till 2 a.m. sometimes. I mean, those days do happen, and those are hard to deal with. But again, just knowing what is the goal here, and knowing that for every one of those days, there's also another day where it's an absolute lifesaver that he, you know, is able to adjust his schedule the way he needs to, or the way our family needs it to be. So, you know, yes, there are definitely hurdles, and those are all hard things to deal with. But on the other hand, just knowing that he is confident and happy and enjoying what he's doing, and, you know, dealing with a different kind of stress, like I said, you know, it's different dealing with stress from a job you hate and then dealing with stress from a job that you love. You know, those are all things that make those hurdles worth it, and they're doable. You know, I mean, it's hard, but certainly doable if you work together.
I tell everybody that I'm a better person because of her, and that's exactly why. I say it to every single person. I'm a much better individual or person or guy because of Rachel.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I love so much of what you just said, but I mean, like, there's so much to unpack here. Like, I love this so much. But one of the things you talked about is this vision, kind of having this, like you kind of understand what it is that he's doing, and so it makes the hard times more bearable. And I totally feel your pain trying to keep people quiet when you're trying to record, right? I mean, that's a lot of what we do, and I get it, right? And that falls squarely on your shoulders, kind of thing. Like, you know, he's got to record, he's got to get things done, and you've got these little children. So talk to me about how you've been able to create this shared vision, or how, Ron, maybe you've been able to bring your family in on the vision, so that when there are those, like, you know, frustrating moments or hurdles or whatever it is, that it's like, this is for a bigger purpose. Like, we all understand what the purpose is here.
Well, I think going through at the beginning, like going back before this even started, like the conversation, like to get her to understand, hey, this is actually a real thing. Like, that's the first thing, right? Like, this actually is a thing. Mm-hmm. And actually showing her, like, we have clients, like, transparency, this is what we're doing. I try to tell her every time we have a sale. I talk to her about the hard clients or whatever, and just that communication piece.
Yeah.
You know, but I used to get, like, a little frustrated when there was a noise, but, like, now I think it's fun that Rogan comes to work with Daddy, and he'll come sit on my lap and he'll ask me stuff, and my daughter will peek around. Like, it's, you work at home, and, you know, and family's part of it. And so it doesn't necessarily bother me unless they're, like, on the other side and I'm live and they're loud. You know, that, because I have a thing with constant noise. Like, I can't handle it. And so if they're doing something like that, that kind of bothers me. But, you know, she does a phenomenal job. If it's something like we're on our live show, because we do our live shows, she will go upstairs all the way on the 3rd level, take the kids upstairs and do things up there in their room, or, you know, she'll do that time to do laundry, and Rogan likes to help her with that. You know, so she does an amazing job doing those things. Like, we've had to just adjust the schedules because Rogan, I scheduled all my lives when he was napping. So the goal is he's napping, she's on her way to go pick up the girls from school, the house is quiet, I'm going to schedule my live interviews at that time. Well, then he started waking up in the middle of the interview. So, like, there's interviews where all of a sudden his head is, like, looking in, like, seeing what's going on. And I was like, there's nothing I can do. He's probably got dirty pants. So, like, we're going to have to wait till we're done, right? So we've had to adjust our schedule a couple times, right?
Yeah.
to just, but again, the flexibility that I have in order to make that work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, it is a shared vision. Like he wouldn't, I mean, if I wasn't on the same page, this could not happen.
Yeah.
I mean, two people totally have to be on the same page, as a family to make this work. And the kids are, it's harder for the kids to understand, but they're learning too. It's like, okay, daddy's recording something, or he's on a live, we all have to be quiet, or yes, let's all go upstairs, let's fold laundry together, or, let's play in, Phelan or Rogan's room, who are on the top level of the house, so that we can kind of give him some privacy or whatever. Like everybody, not just the two of us, not just the adults, like we all kind of have to be on the same page to make it work. And just knowing that, I feel like and I want to be careful about using the word happiness, because I think happiness sometimes is just like a total hoax. I mean, who can ever be like this happy perfect family, but we can find joy in ways, even when everything isn't perfect, but it's kind of top down. So when he was grumpy and stressed and whatever at his 9-to-5 job, that made me get grumpy, and then I'd get snappy, and then the kids are like, unfortunately, in the middle of grumpy snappy parents, and then they're getting cranky and fighting with each other. And having this shared vision and having him doing what he wants to do, it helps him be happier. It helps me be happier. It helps the kids be happier, and they're glad that he's here more. Even if he is in the basement doing his own thing, like they're just so happy he's here. My oldest daughter, my 7-year-old, said to me the other day, it was so random, I don't even remember what was going on, but it had nothing to do with anything. And she just said, Mommy, I'm so glad that Daddy doesn't work at the airport anymore. And I was just like, wow, that was totally random. But yes, I am with you. I am so glad he doesn't drive 3 hours a day, for doing that. I'm glad he's here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the shared vision and working together it's huge.
Yeah.
I love that. So, but it's a big responsibility to like teach the kids and bring them in on this vision. So I love the idea. I love how Ron talked about how you support him and how you are good about taking care of the kids, but how does Ron support you in your, kind of what your job is?
He's a huge support. I mean, he will literally do anything needed to try to give me a break, especially if I'm like reaching that breaking point. I mean, I don't know your audience well, but if you have audience members who are moms who do have little kids who are stay at home, they will understand when I say there is a breaking point. Like, and I will tell you, there are so many times, I mean, I have been a working lady my entire life. I mean, I had my first job when I was 14 years old, and I would go to a 9-to-5 job, or even not a 9-to-5 job. I didn't have a 9-to-5 job for a long time. It was like crazy hours and whatever, but I would take a normal job any day of the week over the stay at home if you're going to compare how much work you're doing, because there's way more work staying at home and raising children than going to a job and being able to leave that job and whatever. So he, especially when he senses, and he's really good at just sensing and knowing my moods and whatever, if he can tell that like I'm on the verge of a nervous breakdown, he'll be like, you know what, why don't you just get out of the house? Do you just need to get out of the house for a while? Why don't you get out of the house? I'll watch the kids, or I'll put the kids to bed or down for their naps or whatever. Do you need to go work out? Go ahead and go work out, because that's my thing. So he'll even take his work, which is in his basement office, upstairs, so that I can go work out on the treadmill, which is noisy and whatever. If I'm just like super stressed and need that. And then of course, there's necessities that, stress us wives and mothers out. Like, okay, I got to get, kids to a doctor's appointment, or I don't know, I just need to go grocery shopping, and if I'm like stressing out, cause I'm like, I got to do A, B, C, D, he'll be like, okay, fine. I'll move some things around, and he's perfectly willing to just work with whatever we need. But I think it's also because he knows that I'm willing to work around whatever he needs too, it's just a partnership. And so, and you have to, you know, there's always priorities. You know, I know when he has a huge client that needs video editing done or whatever, like that at 2 a.m. Yeah, maybe that's not a day where I can get a break. I just don't get a break that day. And you know what? Those days happen and you just have to deal with it. But for the most part, you know, if at all possible, he will always be the first one to say, hey, you know, what do you need? Go get out of the house, go work out, go do whatever. I'll take over for a bit so you can do that. And he'll go back to his stuff later. Just, I mean, he's a huge support too. And he knows how hard it is. He, you know, he sees it. And so whatever he does, he was even, this is kind of random, but he was suggesting, he comes up to me yesterday and he's like, hey, when you get home with the kids from school, is it around 4? And I was like, yeah, it's around 4:15 when I'm getting home with all the kids. And he's like, is that too early to eat dinner? And I'm like, yeah, why? He's like, and I was like, are you planning on cooking dinner or something? He's like, well, yeah, I was kind of thinking about how I could help you out. And I was thinking maybe I could like have dinner ready when you get home, but I guess not if 4 is too early to eat dinner.
I was ready to eat at 4. And
like,
she goes, no, I'm going to say it. She goes, well, if you're 80, you'll eat at 4. I was like, well, I guess I'm 80.
But it was just very sweet, you know, just the fact that he was actually sitting there pondering, you know, how can I help out? You know, how can I give Rachel some, you know, some help, you know, in the day to, you know, make me a little less crazy, I guess. And so it was nice. It was one of those, it's the thought that counts moments, you know, it was just like, that was really sweet, you know. So.
What I love the most about this is not only how you're describing like the way you guys interact with each other, but the kids see that. I mean, they see that and they pick up on it. Like our parents are a team and they're committed to making, you know, this arrangement work. And so they support each other and give each other what they need. I just think that that's really beautiful what you've created. So Ron, I want to know what your best advice to someone who's just starting out with a young family to support, like they might feel unsure about what they're doing and maybe starting in the entrepreneurial journey. What is your best advice?
Oh my gosh. So I used to be told this. So there's 2 different sets of advice I'm going to give. One, done beats better than perfect, right? And I was told that all the time. And one, I hate that because I didn't understand it, right? But the beginning part of like our podcast journey was probably really, really bad, right? But it was done. It was done and we could keep moving forward. But you know what we learned is people really enjoyed following along the journey with us, right? So one, take the step, take action, because guess what? You can't go to that next thing until you take this first step. Right. So you have to take the first step in order to get to the second step. And you know what? You're gonna just don't be too hard on yourself because you're gonna have ups and downs. You know, we launched this one thing that we went into it and we said, okay, we're not gonna get anything from it. We're just gonna do it. It's practice, right? And then guess what happened? We got nothing from it, and we were upset about that, even though I went into it knowing nothing was going to happen. But again, your mind plays tricks on you. So that's one. 2, more on the family side of it. And I struggle with this but I do it, is I schedule the personal time, like from 11:30 to 1 is like workout time. So the goal is 11:30 to 11:45, I'll stop. I'll see if she's going to work out. If she's going to work out, I'll take over for Rogan. I'll make sure Rogan's eating. She'll go work out. I'll put him to bed. I'll come back to either work out or whatever. But that's kind of the goal. Sometimes I'm bad at that. But I would suggest anybody with a family, like schedule those things and hold yourself accountable to doing what you schedule.
I love that. I think that's great advice because, well, the first point you made, you've got to start somewhere. Like you're never going to put the perfect thing out there. You got to put something out there so that you can improve upon it and it can become the thing, right? But nobody's ever going to just put the perfect thing out there. So get started. I love that. And secondly, I think you can tell a lot about a person and their priorities by their calendar. I mean, you schedule the things that are important to you and the things that are in your calendar get done. So just remember that. and when you're looking at your calendar and how to structure things, like make sure that those important things are getting in there. I love, love, love that. Okay, Rachel, your turn. What is your best advice for the non-entrepreneurial spouses out there that maybe might help them through some of those tougher times?
Oh, there's so much that could be said there, but I think it comes down to, I guess, I mean, I feel like we've been talking about this a lot, but just supporting your spouse. I mean, you have to believe in your spouse, for one. I mean, because you can't support somebody if you don't believe in what they're doing. I mean, back to like being on the same page. But, you know, and even if you're not 100%, I feel like you have to at least give your spouse a chance. I mean, if, you know, I think people are all different, but I know my husband, and he is a go-getter. He is a determined person. He is the type of person where if he puts his mind to something, like, it's going to happen in one form or another. It might not be the you know, what the vision started out as, but if he has a vision, it's going to happen one way or another. And, you know, maybe everybody doesn't have a spouse like that. So, I mean, you have to, you know, take what you know about each other, but you have to support that person. So I knew going into this, was it scary? Yes. Was I 100% certain that things were going to work out? No. And I still have that, you know, I always still think that, you know, I never want to get too comfortable in what we're doing, because it's like, you know what, maybe this is supporting us today, but maybe tomorrow it won't, and we have to make adjustments. But just giving them your support and helping them to understand that you have the confidence in them that they can do what they want to do, especially have the, you know, if they have this big dream, this big vision, they can't do it without you as their wife, you know, or their spouse or their partner, whatever. Like, you have to be there to help them believe in themselves, and you have to believe in them. Otherwise it can't work. So I think just the support, the confidence, let them try it. If it doesn't work, then check and adjust, go back to the 9-to-5 job if you have to, whatever, but give them a shot, let them try it out, and don't be disgruntled about it, you know, like, give them everything you got to help and support, and they, you know, they deserve that.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you said. And I think it's really important to remember too that, like, obviously there's a lot of pressure and stress on the entrepreneur, the one who's like trying to make it work. And it's like they're obviously doing their best, right? So whether it works or whether it doesn't, whether it, you know, whether it's the thing they set out to do or something completely different, like, you got to like honor them as, you know, it's not them that's broken. Like, maybe the thing didn't work, right? But that doesn't have anything to do with your spouse, who is clearly doing their best and wants to make it work, right? So I love what you said, that support, like, support them regardless. And then, you know, if the thing doesn't work or it takes longer than it was expected to work, like, maybe there needs to be adjustments, but it's definitely not like, let's not discount the your partner, like the human, the person who is doing it, right? It's definitely not them. So I love that. So, so, so good. All right. So Ron, tell us about Hindsight Hacking Media and what you do for entrepreneurs and content creators.
Sure. So I love, I call it brand birthing. Okay. So I love getting with somebody that has an idea of a message, but doesn't know what to do next, right? So my favorite thing that we do is we'll connect with somebody and they're like, hey, I have this, I want to create an impact. Because all of our clients, we feel very blessed because they're all trying to make an impact on people. And so I love being able to take their idea, put it into a digital format that they are like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was wanting it to do, right? And then helping them launch said vision, right? And that's our favorite thing to do. That can be as little as a podcast or as big as a funnel and a web page and a huge presence. We have one lady who works for the police department in LA who's trying to create a new culture in the police department. and it's called Our Blue Identity. And so she came to us and we started working with her, and that's all she had. Like, she was doing these trainings, but she didn't have any imagery around it or books or anything. And we've created everything for her, where now she's able to confidently go in and say, here's my stuff, this is what I do. And we're able to help craft that offer with her, and she knows her value. So the other thing that I think we do, we help entrepreneurs understand their value in the marketplace. That is the hardest thing for people to do, because at the end of the day, your God-given gift is easy for you and it's natural for you. So for me, I just assumed everybody thought like that because I thought like that. And everybody can make these graphic things and these imagery pieces because it's really simple for me, right? And it's not for other people. So then I was like, okay, I had to start understanding what the value of my worth was. And it's been proven over and over and over again. If you understand the value of your worth and who you're trying to help and who you're trying to attract, you actually will attract those people because it's just a natural progression of where you're trying to go.
Well,
So,
yes, well, you certainly helped me with that. So I appreciate that. And tell the listeners where they can find you.
oh my gosh, you can find us at gethhm.com. Kind of, that's what everything we do. We have it's a fun little website. We have our little emojis on there because everything we do, we try to have fun in it. There's no reason to not have fun, but I'm on all the social media platforms, Our Cool Junior, and would love to connect. Just reach out.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
To learn more ways to deepen your intimacy and strengthen your relationship, make sure you watch this video next.